Hello and welcome to Behind the Scenes, an Out of Frame podcast. I am your host, Sean Malone, the creative director for the Foundation for Economic Education and the creator of Out of Frame. Here with me today in studio, as usual, is Paul Nelson, Out of Frame Shorts editor and FEE's senior marketing manager and head of all of our social medias. Jen, who would normally join us on the show today, is not feeling super well, so she is not going to be with us this week and probably next week, I think, as well. But we look forward to having her back on the show. In the meantime, how are you doing, Paul?
Doing well. Big development on the fatherhood side of things. My 4.5-year-old is interested in Pokemon.
Wow.
Now, to most people, that sounds like the bane of their existence. But for me, this is the first time where he is interested in something that I, at one point in my life, was interested in as well.
Did you do the trading card game and all that kind of stuff? Or
oh, yes.
Yeah, you're into it.
I was into it. Did a couple, went to a couple Pokemon League trading card matches.
Wow.
So, yes, 8-year-old Paul was very into Pokemon.
I did. So you're a little bit younger than me. And I think I had the same experience with Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
And so that was sort of the peak for me at that point. And then Pokemon was just a little it was for a slightly younger audience by the time I was 17 or 18 or whatever. So just a little bit outside. But
yeah, so what I've been told is Magic the Gathering is a grown-up version of Pokemon trading card game.
I guess that makes sense.
I think it's made by the same company.
Is it now?
Or Hasbro? I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not. Well, I don't know what Magic is now, but it wasn't then.
Yeah. So anyways, for me, I am just brimming with excitement.
Yeah.
I get to share something that I love so much with my son.
That's awesome.
But I need to figure out where the line is, because he still is only 4.5 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here planning. Oh, he's gonna love the card games because the kid loves math. So
but
I think
can he figure out the card games?
He's still working on reading.
Yeah.
He can get small words right now.
I hadn't thought about that as being a way to teach people how to read, though, because there's probably a lot of words that you have to sound out or that are going to be phonetically difficult. You got to kind of figure it out. And there's some math involved, but it's also kind of low stakes. It's not like you have to read whole sentences or whole paragraphs. I mean, just little short things or whatever about characters. So
a little bit of math as well.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like something he would be interested. He has seen it on a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And he wants to play it. So
I wonder about that too. How many kids who are 3, 4, 5 years old are watching YouTube and watching people play games on YouTube and then learning the rules and stuff.
Yeah.
From that.
So we'll see. He loves the show.
Yeah.
But it's
sure.
It's the show.
It's a cartoon.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Nice.
I've already, there's a path to world championships for under 12. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but it's
you're not gonna be one of those dads where you're
it's like
you gotta play, you gotta be world champion, you're gonna play every day.
Yeah.
Every day after school.
That's heart of the cards is Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Wrong.
I never played Yu-Gi-Oh either. I don't I barely remember. I remember this is dating myself as well, but again, slightly too old for this, but Pogs became the most important thing for people for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it was immediately thereafter was Yu-Gi-Oh and trading card games and all that kind of stuff. But
I feel like I was too old for Pog.
Yeah.
Or no, too young. Sorry.
Too young. Really,
yeah.
It was a very, very, very short moment in time.
I feel like I had the remnants.
Yeah, and I don't even really know what you did with Pogs. I remember they had character faces on them or something, but I don't know what the point was.
Did you just slam them down? Was that the game?
I think.
Or is that what I did?
Feels like Tiddlywinks to me, and I don't really know if Pogs and Tiddlywinks are the same thing. Maybe somebody in our Discord could tell me, because I'm not really sure.
And if there's any advice on what a 4.5-year-old.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or just where to begin.
Yeah.
Outside of the card game, we've played some of the
some of those
video games, but still,
those movies, Pokemon the movie came out 97 or something.
Yeah, I went to the theater to see it,
and that's got to be okay for.
Oh yeah.
That
yeah,
age,
all the TV shows, stuff like that, perfectly fine for him. But
It's a weird way to teach your kids about the benefits of dog fighting, but I'm not really sure. Like the whole thing of like animals,
it's very disturbing.
Like capturing animals and then making them fight each other is very strange.
They're really cool.
But they're really cool.
They're really cool animals.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's also interesting because like obviously I stopped liking Pokemon at a certain age because as one does.
Yeah, I'm sure that one has Magic. I know adults who still play Magic and stuff, but like Remy Monosifi does. But
yeah.
He's actually trying to rebuild his. Sorry, this is a guy. He's a buddy of mine who, if you haven't seen him, he's not on YouTube as much anymore as he used to be. But he's got a channel called Go Remy, and he does a whole bunch of stuff with Reason. And he's a good buddy of mine, and he's been trying to sort of, I think, build up a Magic the Gathering related comedy channel, which is so niche.
There is
for sure a market.
He's also very funny. Arlington Rap is one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time.
Yeah, if you guys, Arlington Rap may be too inside baseball for people if you haven't lived in Arlington, Virginia, but the McDonald's rap that he did, do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and look up McDonald's rap. And I think even today, which is probably 10 years later from when it was originally made, you will still find value in that. It'll resonate for sure. It's like the whole thing of like going to McDonald's for breakfast and it being like 10:35.
Oh, that's always the worst.
Oh, missed it.
I don't want fries. I want hash browns.
Just barely missed it. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like with Pokemon, it is designed for such younger kids that I think at some point you just have to age out.
Yeah, but they kept going. So they have almost 1,000 of them now.
Whoa!
There was like 150 when it first came out.
Like all the kids being able to name all.
They have a rap song. They did it right. The catchy theme song.
Yeah.
Catchy games.
Man.
Video games. And but I'm running into the problem where my son is like, well, which Pokemon's that? And I just have no idea because I stopped after the original 151. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who this green person is that has a twig coming out of its head.
Yeah, I was never into any of that at all, so I have no context. I mean, the most of the context I have is like Pikachu and like whatever the handful of like ones,
very popular ones,
Squirtle, whatever stuff like that. But
you're well on your way to being a master.
I don't think so. But it just occurred to me, and I swear we did not plan this in any way, but this discussion is a literal perfect segue into our movie discussion.
No,
because I can't think of a better movie to talk about when you're talking about the next stage of Pokemon, but Kong versus Godzilla. Seriously though, think about it. I mean, like it is just a Pokemon battle.
Kong, I choose you.
They apparently everybody chose Kong. I don't know why. Just because we thought Kong was more anthropomorphized.
We can talk to him.
We can talk to Kong and feel good about that. But anyway, I mean they level up over the course of the movie. They Godzilla starts with, well, in this movie he actually pretty much starts at nearly full power, but that's actually a weird thing about this movie that I think we should talk about at some point. But anyway, we're going to talk about Kong versus Godzilla. It just came out on HBO Max and in theaters. This is a movie that I would normally have gone to see in theaters, but I'm super, super busy right now and ended up actually just watching it on HBO Max, and I kind of regret it. I feel like I should have gone to see this in the theater. I think I would have had a better experience overall. And then after this discussion, we are going to stick around and have some bonus content for our patrons and Subscribe Star supporters, in which we're going to talk about a lesser-known movie called Shin Godzilla, which is a 2016 Japanese film made by Toho Studios, which is the original sort of Godzilla Studios. And that is, both of these movies, I would say, are in a lot of ways very classic Godzilla movies.
Yes.
In different ways, but both are way more like the original 1960s, 1970s Godzilla.
Very different interpretations on
Oh yeah, they are totally different movies, but they are both there are similarities to the original style of Godzilla. I think that we should get into. So, if you're not a supporter of the show, that's patreon.com/outoframeshow or subscribestar.com/outoframeshow. We'd love to have you join us there, and then you stick around and listen to our bonus episode after we get done talking about Kong versus Godzilla. So, Paul, like initial thoughts.
It is. You're right. It is a Pokemon battle, but
yeah.
So
maybe more city destruction.
Yeah, a little bit more of that.
I don't know how much that happens in Pokemon battles, but it feels like that usually happens in an arena of some kind.
Usually, or in a forest. So this movie picks up where I guess Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters left off.
Yeah, probably more Kong Skull Island than King of the Monsters.
Yeah, but you don't need to see it to.
You don't really.
You got Kong, you got Godzilla. They don't like each other.
And by the way, they get into it very fast.
Oh yes,
like there is not a lot of setup to this movie,
which I loved.
Yeah, I guess I appreciate that. I mean, I do like some buildup in some of these things, particularly like the first of the new Godzilla movies. I should have looked this up. I don't remember. Was that 2016? I feel it was like 2016. 2014.
And then
they had a little bit.
Yeah.
And then King of Monsters was like 2017 or something. And like the 2014 Godzilla, I think was really good in a lot of ways, especially at building up to the monster. It's a very slow reveal. You see him underwater, or you see his little scales or the little spikes or whatever and stuff like that. And then even once he starts fighting the Mutos in that movie, once he starts fighting the other monsters, you don't spend a lot of time with him. You're mostly at a human scale, like looking up at them and only seeing pieces, because this is an enormous creature. I mean, this is a skyscraper-sized monster, So if you're looking from a human perspective, it's like, how much of that would you even see at any given point? And I thought that was really good. This movie is completely the opposite of that. It's just right away you see Kong, the entirety of Kong, the entirety of Godzilla, and they're going to fight immediately.
Yeah. I mean, the premise of the story is Godzilla is driven by an instinct to take out whatever is about to be powerful and could destroy him. So he attacks Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, there's some kind of energy force that is happening
that triggered his instinct. So that's the beginning of the movie, and that sets us off with the subplot of the two teenagers and the security guard,
Millie Bobby Brown, and the security guard who's
pointless.
It's totally pointless. I get you brought Millie Bobby Brown into this movie just because she's a
big name, yeah,
and because she was in the previous movie,
right?
That's fine. But she didn't have anything to do. Her dad didn't have anything to do either. He was back in this movie as well, and he was even like a big. Important scientist or whatever for Monarch, so you'd think that he would have had a role, but he's in it for 2 seconds at the beginning, 2 seconds at the end, pretty much it.
Getting that check.
Yeah,
hard to hate on him, but
no, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, these movies, like, you got to have some human characters theoretically, but like this movie was not focused on human characters at all.
Maybe the little girl that could sign with Kong.
She had the most to do of anybody in this movie, and yeah. Human connection. That was literally her point.
Right. So Godzilla destroys that and takes care of that threat. But Kong, who is now in a containment facility, is starting to wanting to get out. He knows he's in a containment facility. Yeah. So they cannot keep him in there any longer. They're trying to figure out what to do because they think Godzilla can sense it. They know that there's a history between the two, I guess, species,
I guess, yeah.
So that if they moved Kong off the island, Godzilla would come and kill him.
There's a lot of what feels like retconning that gets done in this movie because none of this stuff was ever really set up. I mean, we kind of in King of Monsters, Godzilla like there were these other titans. They call them titans. And I guess we're supposed to assume that Kong is among them.
I guess.
But then also he's got his own people, I guess. I don't know. It's a little unclear. I think that part is just kind of being retconned so that we can
let them fight.
I love, by the way, the fact that Ken Watanabe is like, let them fight, is, it came from Godzilla. Like, it's from this, this franchise.
Yeah.
Poor Ken Watanabe's not in it anymore, tragically, because he sacrificed himself in the last movie. But, but also, like, all the actors that I really want to see, like Ken Watanabe or like Bryan Cranston, for example, like, just get killed in these movies. And I can't... Like, we're left with, again, sorry, no offense to Millie Bobby Brown, but she just didn't have anything to do here. She's a fine actress, but it's like, all right, what are we doing here?
All right, we're just taking
yeah.
So then we're moving. So there's a hollow Earth apparently where these creatures come from.
Yeah, this introduces Alexander Skarsgård's sort of, it's the classic trope of the ridiculed scientist, the scientist who is like really actually right about everything, but who everybody thinks is a crackpot.
There's 30 boxes of unsold books in his apartment.
Yeah, right. He wrote a book about a hollow Earth and how we could get down there and how I don't know. I don't even know if his book had assumed there was going to be some kind of secret world down there, but it seemed like he was assuming that at the center of the Earth, there was some other Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we. It has a lot of light in it, by the way.
Right.
A lot of light in the center.
Not explained.
Not at all, even. So Alexander Skarsgård joins the movie and then becomes also as a pilot somehow. Really, really excellent pilot for reasons.
When needed.
So they want to take Kong. Well, they actually want Kong to lead them to the center of the Earth because I guess you got to get to it through some kind of wormhole.
But why? So
it exists. A lot of this is very unclear to me, to be honest.
So that's why Kong was breaking out of the containment center, and they needed to get Kong to Antarctica to lead them to Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
Even though they knew where the tunnel was to Hollow Earth, and they just went through it by themselves. I don't know. Don't know why they needed Kong. But anyway, so
really don't understand.
So Godzilla gets the scent of Kong and comes after him. Then, it was a pretty cool scene.
It was. But then they fight. Then it's a lot of fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sorry, we're spoiling the plot of this movie, but the plot of this movie is they fight. And they fight a lot. And they fight on land. They fight on sea. On boats somehow. There's a lot of physics in this movie that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Kong jumped from one barge to an aircraft carrier and then surfed the aircraft carrier, which was a pretty bold move. I don't know. Buildings can sometimes take the full force of Kong jumping on them, and then sometimes they can't.
Yep.
Unclear. Things happen in this movie that the scene needs to happen, I guess.
Yeah. And then they had to fight again. And then so Kong comes.
And they had to fight in the cities, of course.
Got to destroy
many cities.
Kill millions of people.
Yeah, but we never see those people, so it's fine.
They're fine.
It's fine.
They're fine.
Maybe they were evacuated, or
I'm sure
they had bunkers.
They had bunkers. Nobody died. Nobody died.
Nobody actually died.
Yeah, it's just property damage.
It's just property damage. That's right. Let's just take a second to realize that like it's not really violent.
No.
If it's just property damage.
No.
Never really matters.
No. I mean, we can just rebuild giant skyscrapers.
There's a line in this movie too about the White House getting destroyed or whatever. Oh no, sorry, that is not even what I'm thinking of right now. But all of these buildings get destroyed, and it's just assumed, I guess, that we can just
rebuild.
We just rebuild them. Huge skyscrapers, and a lot of them.
All of Hong Kong.
Pretty
basically.
much, yeah. The entirety of Hong Kong. I wouldn't.
Which, so very random locations. We have Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Antarctica, and then all the way to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, the headquarters of, is that Apex headquarters or Monarch headquarters?
Apex.
It's Apex headquarters.
So there's a lot. Yeah. This is where
Yeah.
that really frustrated me was there was a lot of tropes.
Oh yeah, so many. So many.
Business bad.
Yeah. So we should explain that to you real quick. So there are these two competing companies, I guess. There's Apex, which is run by this guy Walter Simmons and his daughter, who's I was trying to place her, and then I remembered she's John Hamm's girlfriend from Baby Driver. I was trying to like place where I'd seen her before, but she's like the CEO's daughter or whatever, and she's there sort of assigned to be the representative evil businesswoman inside the scientist team who then betrays them later on, which is totally a trope as well. Like they get to the center of the earth, and of course they're there to mine the center of the earth or take something from it or whatever. But it's like, yeah, of course. Why'd you think they were going to the center of the earth? You think they were going there?
Also, why did she need to go?
I don't know why she needed to go. I don't know why half the people needed to go who went.
I mean, I understand dudes with guns, but
yeah, but not for the reasons that they were there. Right?
A lot of choices.
I don't know. There's a lot of tropes in this movie. The thing that I ultimately wasn't a big fan of the movie. And part of the reason, because I'm okay with like, if a movie is like what it is, like I'm not gonna get upset with a movie for being a really good representation of the thing that it's trying to be. And I feel that way about art in general. Like I think if you're an artist and you are trying to create a campy, spoofy movie, and you achieve a campy, spoofy movie, like then kudos to you, man. Like you did the thing. You did what you set out to do. I may not watch it again, or it may not be for me. Like, look, there are tons. I think I've said this on the show before. I'm not a huge horror movie fan. I appreciate a really well done horror movie, but even a really well done horror movie for me is like, okay, I'll watch that. I probably won't revisit it. I appreciate movies where somebody made what they wanted to make. And I don't know if this is true in this movie or not. This also feels a little like committee movie making to me. But regardless, they made a very campy, classic Godzilla movie with, modern $100 million special effects and everything else. But like when you actually get to even when Godzilla was introduced, I thought Godzilla's character design even became a little comical to me in an old school Godzilla sort of way. Like he was kind of rising up out of the water and like his mouth opened up and it felt kind of like a hand puppet. It kind of felt like this is like a little rubbery, it's a little squishy. It's like it's not quite, a real animal or whatever. It was not as terrifying as previous Godzilla movies. And it just has this little bit of it's a little hand puppet quality to it. And then similarly, once they get to their Hong Kong battle, where they are just demolishing the entire city, it felt like, again, these are two CG monsters. Well, ultimately three, which we'll spoil the other part of it in a minute. But these are huge, huge, huge monsters that in 2014 Godzilla really felt like real kind of monsters, like actual animals, battling it out. And the scale was really human. So you got the sense of like when a chunk of a building fell down, it was a chunk of a building. It wasn't, just building blocks. It wasn't just toys, right? But this movie felt like two dudes in suits on a set where they had made models of these buildings. And so when a building would get knocked down, it'd just be like, it's a piece of the set. Who cares?
Whatever.
It's kind of whatever. I didn't get any sense at all of like, there's millions of people living here.
No.
There's every person in this place is getting either their home destroyed or probably dead.
Yeah.
Like you can't evacuate that city. You can't evacuate millions of people in 5 minutes. Nobody had any real warning that they were going to be there. I'm sure that the movie can come up with some kind of excuse or whatever where it's like, oh, we've got this alert system because they've lived in a world with these monsters for a while. But so what? 5 million people or whatever, you can't, what are you going to do? And then once they get into the city, it's like, it's all very neon and there's all these buildings are, So ultimately, and I think the neon sort of contributes to it too, is like all the buildings seem to be outlined with lighting, which is the way that Hong Kong and Singapore and Tokyo and stuff actually are. But the result of that is that instead of seeing the complexity of a building with like lots of intricate detail and everything that's sort of at a human scale, you just see a big
rectangle.
Big rectangle.
Go boom.
Boom. Right. Exactly. So that gets to the point for me where I was like, this is just feeling like 1960s, just a dude in a rubber suit, knocking down a cardboard set.
This is a great way to eat a whole box of popcorn.
Yes. Yeah. See, this is why I said at the beginning why I regret not going to the theater to see it, because I think had I seen it in the theater, I'd have been like, well, okay,
that was fun.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I'm doing this huge screen. I mean, it's not like my setup at home is pretty good, but it's not. Yeah, it's not the same.
Not 100 foot.
Just not 100 foot. Yeah. I mean, would have been.
This movie needs theaters.
It did. It really did. And I don't know. I wonder how many people are actually going to go see it in the theaters. We're starting to get to a point where maybe some people would go.
For me, this movie just doesn't rise to the occasion when it's on the max, and I can just turn it on.
So that's the trade-off, really, and it's a weird, or maybe trade-off is the wrong word. Maybe catch-22 might be the right phrase for this, which is that like. I think you're right. I think for a lot of people, this would be a movie that you go like, do I really want to spend $20?
Yeah.
And, buy popcorn and whatever. I don't really care, because it's kind of a throwaway movie in a lot of ways. And so therefore you might say, I won't go to the theater. On the other, and then especially once you add HBO Max,
right?
You go, well, I
definitely
HBO Max. Why would I pay $20 for this? I'm going to sit at home and watch it on the thing that I've already got. So that makes sense, but at the same time, this movie needs.
You're right.
It needs the scale of it.
How the finances work with a movie like this? Because it's obviously a very expensive movie, and if you're not making any money from it,
I don't know. And this is a really interesting and sort of, I think, still very unknown part of the streaming world that we're in now, which is like, how do you? So I get when a movie, let's take the Snyder Cut for example. When a movie brings in new subscriptions to HBO Max. Like that was, a brilliant strategy. And by all accounts, as far as I can tell, Snyder Cut brought in way more subscriptions than it probably even cost to make, especially in context of like, look, it's a lot of money, but they basically spent, as far as I know, about $70 million like redoing whatever they needed to do to make that possible. They already had the rest of the movie done. So,
right.
It wasn't like a Kong versus Godzilla where they were basically doing this, at least the majority of it, they were doing it, from scratch, essentially. So I get that. You spend $70 million, that's a lot, but if you acquire well over $70 million worth of customers and those customers stick around for a year or whatever,
easy decision.
Easy, right? This one I don't get.
Yeah. Same Mortal Kombat, I think, is going to be similar.
Maybe. Although video game movies it's sort of a different deal to me a little bit just because the history of video game movies is so shoddy.
You're right.
So if you make a good Mortal Kombat movie, which, I don't know, trailers look pretty cool so far.
Trailers look awesome.
If you make a good Mortal Kombat movie, I think you're going to have at least enough of an audience that's going to be excited about that to go check it out. Especially, and the bar is low.
Yep.
So, and it's not like, okay, I'm saying the bar is low. It's a Godzilla movie, so the bar may not be.
Well, they did, but
they've done a couple really good ones.
They've had
lately.
this series that they've created, this MonsterVerse.
Yeah,
it's very compelling. I think the 2014 Godzilla is, if not my favorite Godzilla movie.
It's for sure my favorite Godzilla movie. With maybe the exception of what we're going to talk about in the bonus section, actually. Yeah. But it's my favorite Godzilla movie, but it's a really solid representation of a monster movie. Like it's an interesting genre in a lot of ways because there are certain things that you expect and certain things that you really want, right? Like you want as much as it can be really campy to have the human level stories, you want some connection to humanity. You want some connection to some, in that case, it's like, by the way, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen. So weird. So weird to put those two as brother and sister in Marvel and then have them be married in this one. They're actors, so fine, but like, wow, that's an awkward one. But fine. You want a motivation for the human characters to be in the fight. You want to see what's happening on the ground. You want to see some connection, but you also want to see the scale. You want to see enormous beasts, battling each other. Like, that's what you're paying to see.
Right.
It's the whole point, So you get that, and you do get that here, but you get that in like the kind of campiest way.
Yeah. I mean, the 2014 it was obviously, what if Godzilla was real, and
yeah, how would you react to it?
And put people in those shoes, and how would we cover that on TV? Mm-hmm. Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. I don't remember. I think it's
Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay. It's basically, yeah. There's no ideas behind it. Just let them fight. Yeah. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where we haven't seen any human characters anywhere near this fight for a long time, and then a random helicopter flies across the screen, and I was just like, oh, this is just like a rich guy going to his like sightseeing
or like going to the office or whatever. It was like, it wasn't like a news helicopter. It wasn't like a police helicopter. Like, one of the things, again, going back to the 2014 Godzilla, is that there are actually, once you get to, and I was trying to explain this to somebody before, one of the problems you have with special effects, like water has always been historically a really challenging special effect because water doesn't scale up. If you try to make a set, or really I say scale up, but it doesn't scale down, is really what I mean to say, is that if you make a let's say like a 1/6 scale model of a city, for example, or you make something even smaller, like a 1/25 scale model of a city, and then you pour a bunch of water into it, simulating some kind of a flood. The problem is that water, the look and feel of water, like little water droplets are huge in that context because they don't scale down.
Right.
Like you can't make them tiny. So you don't get the ocean mist or the spray or any of the like sort of white caps and all the kind of stuff that you get when you see actual ocean tsunami flooding an area, And part of that is because your camera is now right up on top of your lens is right up on top of the water. So you're seeing basically a micro, viewpoint of the water, but then you've also created the scaled down model of the city. So now the thing is, if you're really in it, you're the same lens, but you're now hundreds and hundreds of yards away seeing this huge, huge tidal wave. So it becomes a really different effect and it looks totally different. And you have the same problem, I think, with this movie. You have the replication of the 60s kind of vibe for that kind of stuff happens because when you actually get to the Godzilla and Kong stuff, especially again in Hong Kong, it's as if the camera has been scaled up to the size of these two dudes in a suit, which is what it used to be, right? It's like you have a camera that's 35 millimeter lens or whatever it is, and you're in a studio and you're, 10, 15 feet away or whatever you happen to be, and you've got it on two guys. Well, that looks totally, totally different than if you had that same 35 millimeter lens 400 yards away and the guys were the size of skyscrapers. It's a very different look. 2014 Godzilla, I think, did it really well by still maintaining that like, it's still a 35 millimeter lens, but now it's on a helicopter flying,
right,
400 yards out, looking at the destruction that's happening in the city. So things are a lot wider. The detail is
scaled properly,
and you kind of see all of it. This was like, hey, I'm back in like a studio in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's like
cut.
Yeah. So that was weird to me, but also again, I don't know. I mean, maybe that was what they wanted. I mean, it's clearly a directorial choice at that point. But let's get into. So we're going to spoil the sort of third act because like any good superhero battle, which this sort of was, which is weird because they're both anti-heroes. I'm not really sure how you rate this, but like any good superhero battle movie, they have to team up at the end and fight the real villain. Business. Yeah. So I don't know, Paul, you want to explain the Mecha Godzilla and
Robot Godzilla?
Robot Godzilla. Mecha Godzilla.
So this was part of Millie Bobby Brown's.
Yeah.
Or wait, Millie.
No, Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, you said it right.
I say Bobby Brown, I'd have really like.
Yeah, that's not a good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways.
I don't know if she's doing herself a favor with the 3-name situation or recalling people that we don't want to recall.
Right.
I don't know.
But so that's kind of the point of her. Her
existence in the movie,
her train riding in an underground train.
Yeah, I can't really call it an arc exactly.
Yeah, just so there you have the camera to show Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah,
so
pretty much. Yeah.
So Apex, the evil business with the mustache twirling, whiskey drinking.
yeah.
CEO.
He's just the most CEO of CEOs. I think, like nice suit, swilling whiskey.
Yeah. Basically, his motivation is he wants
suave accent.
Right.
Yeah.
Doing it for the right reasons in his mind.
Sure.
And his reasoning is that he wants humanity to return to the apex status as the apex on planet Earth.
Yeah.
So he naturally builds a robot.
As you do.
But is only be able to be powered by the skull of one of the 3
Ghidorah
monsters.
Yeah. Which was the 3-headed, 2-tailed
that Godzilla killed in the last movie.
Killer thing. Yeah.
And so that then they go to Hollow Earth to mine the stone that Kong uses in his Thor axe.
Oh yeah. So you might be wondering in this movie, how the heck does Kong possibly stand a chance against Godzilla? Godzilla is a nuclear-powered giant, lizard that can breathe fire and and whatever. And Kong shouldn't even be a fraction of the size of Godzilla, given what we've seen. But so the answer is you scale him up so that Kong is basically the same size as Godzilla, and you make them roughly equivalent in weight class, and then you also give Kong a Stormbreaker. You give him a magic axe,
nuclear-powered axe,
a nuclear-powered yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Why not?
So they get that power rock, and they input it into Mechagodzilla, which then turns it evil.
I guess. Yeah.
Their selfishness destroyed.
So there is sort of like a Pacific Rim, like neural link thing that they're trying to do, and so there is a driver who is sitting inside the skull, or one of the skulls. I don't know. By the way, how did the podcaster guy? How did he figure that out? He walks in there. He's like, oh, I know. They must be linked together in some way. And you're like, they're telepathic or whatever.
It's like if Alex Jones happened upon some kind of thing, and he's like, I told you the frogs. I told you about the frogs.
Yeah. It's like, this guy, whatever. That's a whole other plot that I don't even want to get into. But the, so there is like a guy who's like driving the robot.
While it's still under control of humans.
There's a driver, and he basically sits inside a skull, which is like rigged up with all these like neon tubes, which do something.
Look cool. They
look super cool on screen. There's a lot of neon in this movie, a whole lot, and some of it actually is really cool, like the sort of vertical takeoff and landing, sort of drone ship kind of. They look like I have a Mavic Pro drone, and they look like that without the props, without the propellers. Pretty neat design, but crazy and whatever.
Looks cool.
Very neon, very very electric and all that kind of stuff. But
it's electric.
Oh no,
sorry.
And
see myself out.
Grown. But they then that connection gets broken, and then it's just like evil Ghidorah in robot. Yeah.
And then
Kong and Godzilla have to fight the robot.
Right. Naturally.
Yeah. Sure.
And then Kong rips
and
off
so they destroy even more city.
But at that point,
it's
might as well.
You might as well. Yeah. I mean, honestly, whatever buildings were left standing at that point, really, they just had it coming.
Well,
I think.
I mean, they would just be in the way when you easily rebuild.
When you easily just, I don't know, 3D print a new city or something. I'm not really sure how this world works.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just,
seems like it's not going to be fine, though.
It's just property. It's not a...
Yeah, doesn't really matter that much, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you a theme in this movie. I couldn't tell you, other than just monsters are scary. Just monsters. Business is bad.
Don't be a bad businessman.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah, but like many bad businessman tropes, I don't know what I don't know. So this happens all the time in movies where there's an evil businessman and yet it's an underwear gnomes level scheme where you go I'm going to build a giant mecha Godzilla, huge question marks, profit.
Yeah.
Well, how are you profiting from this? How is this, who benefits from this? I guess if you were building a giant mecha Godzilla, let's say, again, going back to the Pacific Rim thing and sort of the Gundam idea and like dudes in huge suits or whatever, right? At least I understand that this is a tool that you've built that probably governments have paid you for in order to protect the borders of this area. But if you were going to do that, then you were going to go, like Pacific Rim, you're going to go out into the ocean and you're going to try to battle this thing off the coast so that they don't even get on land and destroy your cities. Because the goal would be let's not destroy the cities. Let's not get all these people killed or whatever. This guy's
doesn't care.
Who cares?
Because he's evil.
It's just, let's smash up the cities, I guess. I don't know who paid him for that.
Because he owns the construction companies.
Yeah, I guess, but yep, there you go. I think you've solved it. I think he's going to destroy the city and then rebuild, and he's going to. I'm surprised Marvel hasn't gone that direction with Tony Stark, by the way, because Tony Stark is part of the rebuilding stuff. So you can see a conflict of interest in that, like in Spider-Man Homecoming or whatever.
Yeah.
It's he's
almost got there.
I know, almost. They got real close. All right. Anyway, I think that's about enough for Godzilla. Paul, would you recommend that people watch Godzilla?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Look, you're at home. You've got HBO Max.
Put on the Max.
Yeah.
Watch some Godzilla.
Yeah. Get some popcorn though. Do something.
Yeah, get some popcorn.
Get some friends over.
Just have a good time.
Have a good time.
And then.
Yeah.
And then go find yourself Shin Godzilla. Watch that and then join us.
That's right.
For our next supporters section.
Yep. Stick around if you are, as Paul was just saying, if you are, supporting us on Patreon or Subscribestar. Again, that's patreon.com or subscribestar.com/outofframeshow. But stick around and we will talk about Shin Godzilla right after this. But for everybody else, thank you so much for watching or listening to the show. Thanks for following us on YouTube and join the Discord. Come check us out there. It continues to grow really, really rapidly. Got a lot going on in there. And honestly, I love being able to see some of that discussion, and feel free to tag me in it even. And I'll get back to you on some of those kinds of things. I'm sure Paul will as well. And also, go on there and, wish Jen a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Her issues. But for everybody else, thank you so much for watching or listening, and we will see you next time.